Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
We weren't contacted about this pop-up clinic for the Poco being a hotspot neighborhood.
Everybody pre-registered.
Pulling the plug on pop-ups. After 3 days of chaos and frustration, the popular vaccine clinics are scrapped. Also,
every adult in British Columbia will have access to vaccines by the middle of June.
A shot in the arm for BC's vaccination plan, with a massive surge in doses arriving next month. And
it was the worst experience ever.
Big bill.
They're charging me $100 per day.
A Burnaby woman's battle with the largest international courier company in the world.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. They were wildly popular while they lasted, but the bubble has burst on those COVID vaccine pop-up clinics. They're coming down after 3 days of chaos and controversy. Joel Ballard was in Surrey this morning where hundreds got their shots just before the doors closed.
Everybody pre-registered.
Hopefuls lining up, waiting for a shot at this pop-up clinic in Cloverdale.
I'm just happy I'm getting an opportunity to get the shot.
Everything here is calm. Those waiting in line, happy.
So far, smooth sailing.
That's because this clinic introduced a simple system. You show up and get a ticket for a certain time to come back. No waiting for hours on end. But still, finding out about pop-up clinics is a game of chance.
I found out from a friend that lives near here.
That's the case with most of the people in this line, told by friends, neighbors, but not Fraser Health, turning the search for a vaccine into a wild goose chase, and it's caused a lot of confusion and frustration. That's what happened at a pop-up clinic in Coquitlam Tuesday.
We weren't contacted about this pop-up clinic for the Poco being a hotspot neighborhood at all.
Stockfiz found out from her brother, rushed to the clinic with her husband and child in tow, but they left when they saw the line.
If you're a frontline essential worker, you're not going to be able to drop everything in the middle of the day and line up for 6 hours or 2 hours or however many hours it is. Or if you're a parent with young kids, it's very tough.
In Surrey on Wednesday, many waited for hours, only to be turned away in the end. Today, Fraser Health acknowledged there were issues with the rollout of the pop-up clinics.
I sincerely apologize for any negative experience that people may have had. There could have been improvements made in some of our communication, as well as strategies to manage our lines on the ground.
So it appears this morning's pop-up was the last. There are no more clinics like this planned in the Fraser Health region. But if and when they do happen, Fraser Health says they'll be handled differently. Joel Ballard, CBC News, Surrey.
Still, many questions remain unanswered after the pop-up fiasco in Fraser Health. Our Tanya Fletcher is here live tonight with the latest on this saga. And Tanya, BC's top doctor is now apologizing as well?
Yes, Dr. Bonnie Henry today was asked if she would take responsibility for what was described as the vaccine free-for-all.
I'm not sure I would call it a vaccine free-for-all, but absolutely. You know, we are concerned about the way they rolled out. These were done with the right intentions, that people were notified through means, and as you say, it got a life of its own that was not anticipated in social media in particular.
Now, despite the confusion, health officials say the overall goal of these pop-up clinics was achieved: to vaccinate lots of people quickly. So if they're so effective, then why wouldn't they continue with improved communication instead of halting them altogether? Well, Dr. Henry says they're not writing them off forever, but they are effectively out of vaccine right now, so they'll be looking at ways they could improve should they be revived. Now, this was also prime fodder for question period this morning. The opposition said the pop-up clinics were reminiscent of the Hunger Games. Here's how Minister Dix responded.
These pop-up clinics have not been successful because they've undermined confidence in the process while immunizing a lot of people in critical neighborhoods. We've got to learn the lessons, and we've got to do better, and Fraser Health will do so.
Now, you heard him say there the pop-up clinics have not been successful because they've undermined confidence. So in the briefing this afternoon, if that's the case, I asked him how this wasn't foreseen.
So what I mean by that is the challenge with this kind of situation where there are lineups is that it takes away, in a way, from all of that, from confidence, and we have to simply rebuild that.
Now, at the end of the day, though, he says he expects health authorities to be innovative and work with communities in distributing these vaccines.
And some good news tonight on the vaccine front. Vaccinations are about to ramp up in BC with a monster shipment set to arrive soon.
Yeah, and that is the good news, as you say. The entire vaccination rollout is about to accelerate. And just to give you an idea, BC received 138,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine this week. The size of next week's shipment is set to double and then stay above 250,000 doses each week right through to the end of May. Here's a look at what that means for the main age-based system. So if you are registered, you will be contacted to book at midnight tonight for those over 56 years old. On Sunday, it'll be those over the age of 54. Tuesday comes those over 52, and Thursday for those over the age of 50. Now, the increase in doses means the frontline worker program will get a jump start as well. And for now, the focus will stay on first responders, so police and police officers, firefighters, along with school staff and childcare employees.
As we have more vaccine coming in, 15% will now mean a lot more vaccine available, and we expect to have those groups completed in the next 3 weeks. So by the end of, by the middle of May. So that's the goal.
And BC will also get the first doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine next week. Many of those will go to the other frontline workers like truck drivers and grocery store staff. And you heard her at the beginning say that by mid-June, all of us should have access to a vaccine. Mike?
All right, seems to be ramping up. Tanya Fletcher reporting live tonight. And as we await the arrival of more vaccines, BC is reporting another 853 cases of COVID-19 today. There are 503 people now in hospital, 178 of those in critical care. More than 43,000 people got a COVID-19 shot yesterday, the third highest daily number in BC's vaccine campaign. A warning tonight from a Tawasin woman who suddenly lost her husband to COVID-19. He died, while trying to recover at his home. As John Hernandez reports tonight, his grieving wife says we need to take this virus seriously.
Like, it just doesn't feel real. Like, it's so awful.
It didn't take long for Melissa Hance's life to turn upside down. She became a widow just 2 weeks ago, losing her husband to a short but devastating fight with COVID-19.
What I have to live with now and every day moving forward is that I didn't say I love you. And I say I love you every night.
Reed Hance was in his 40s, a family man who lived a healthy life. He loved fishing and camping with his wife and 2 boys.
He had a very witty sense of humor, a very genuine and caring attitude, and anybody who came across him felt that way.
But earlier this month, the family was exposed to COVID-19. Each tested positive.
His symptoms were the cough was super aggressive. Again, still no fever, but he had chills. He was feeling lethargic, just not his regular active self.
On April 13th, they spoke with a nurse and scheduled a doctor's appointment. That night, he was resting on the couch when Melissa said goodnight. The next morning, she found him dead.
I put my hand on his arm and I said good morning, and his arm was cold. Then I tried to shake his arm and I tried to move it and I couldn't move his arm. I started freaking out.
Reed Hance's reaction to the virus is rare but not unique. In BC, at least 34 people have died suddenly at home during the first year of the pandemic, but health officials aren't calling it a trend.
We did assess this, and if we started to see concerns, we could follow up with people more closely, make sure that people who needed care got it. So far, we're not seeing that happen here.
Still, Melissa Hance wants her husband's story to be a cautionary tale for those who don't take the risks seriously. She's urging those in charge to tighten health measures.
I want to see them shut everything down. I do. I want to see them not just offer recommendations, but actually follow suit.
Health officials say anyone who has COVID-19 and notices symptoms getting worse should dial 911, a call that could hopefully prevent future tragedies. John Hernandez, CBC News, Tawasin.
Well, from restaurants to gyms, dozens of workplaces across Metro Vancouver have been ordered closed because of COVID cases. It comes after Dr. Henry announced new rules to try to stop the spread of the disease. Our Dan Burrett joins us now live with more on this. And Dan, where and what are these businesses?
They run from Chilliwack to downtown Vancouver, Mike. At last check, it's 45 businesses. Some of these closures started in early April, others just yesterday. In Fraser Health, authorities have closed 37 businesses dating back to April 19th. In Coastal Health, officials have shut down 8 workplaces dating back to April 4th. And these lists are updated every weekday. Here's the map. In Fraser Health, they run from Chilliwack to Abbotsford and places in between. Langley, Maple Ridge, Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam, Surrey, New Westminster, Burnaby, and Delta. They include car dealerships, gyms, exporters, a nail salon, a day spa, a Tim Hortons, a travel agency, a jewelry store, and a wood furniture shop, among others. In Coastal Health, some similarities. The closures include a cactus club, a boxing club, a watch, and a beauty salon. The rule is officials will order a business to close when 3 or more people in the workplace have COVID-19 with likely transmission in that workplace. The shutdowns normally last about 10 days, and that allows time to update and approve any worksite COVID safety plan. You can see the current closures on the Fraser Health and Coastal Health websites, respectively, and they're updated every day, so if one is finished, it's taken down. Mike?
All right, Dan, thanks very much. Dan Burrett reporting live tonight. To BC's other health crisis now, and it's not good. New numbers show there were 159 toxic drug deaths in March. That is a 41% jump over March of last year, and it pushes total overdoses deaths to this year to just under 500. The worst first quarter death toll on record. The coroner service is blaming a contaminated drug supply. A Courier giant named in a proposed class action lawsuit is now the focus of a Burnaby woman's wrath. Cindy Melendez says her experience with DHL Express was a costly headache. She claims her shipping costs tripled by the time her packages got to her brother in Honduras. Here's Belle Puri with this report.
Regular trips by Cindy Melendez to Honduras to visit family, of course, are off indefinitely thanks to the pandemic. So she decided to ship some belated Christmas presents.
It was the worst experience ever.
Melendez sent 2 iPads, an iPhone, and a charger.
They were all gifts for my family, right? One for my mother and the other 2 for my 2 brothers.
The DHL Express cost to ship out of Vancouver, $393. The cost to receive at the other end in San Pedro Sula, nearly $700 in additional charges, including duty. Melendez called DHL customer service.
The first person didn't seem to care. She hung up on me. She was very rude. The second person I called, she's like, I don't know, what can I do? I don't have the fees that's they're charging in other countries. I don't have this information. But you guys are the same company, so I don't understand how is this happening.
The parcel sat in storage for 2 weeks while Melendez haggled with the company.
I was trying to reason with them, and I told them, I don't mind paying the taxes. I think it's fair. I don't mind. I can pay the taxes, but you guys waive your fees. And then they're like, no, we cannot do that.
Melendez reached out to us on the heels of another recent CBC story. Earlier this month, DHL was named in a proposed class action lawsuit over alleged hidden fees. In the case of Cindy Melendez, DHL says it reviewed her file and determined staff had followed the right procedures throughout the process. A spokesperson says the company explored several options with her to resolve the issue, including sending the parcels back to BC. But Melendez arranged to have the fees paid. The final price to ship the parcels? Just over $1,000. Melendez plans to fight for the money back and never ship again.
I'll just fly into Honduras, and whatever I take, I'll just take it with me. I'll pay the extra luggage.
Belle Puri, CBC News, Burnaby.
Okay, drivers, start your engines.
And we go green in Valencia. It's a decent getaway from Lynn.
Or in this case, plug in your batteries. Vancouver's taken a big leap toward bringing all-electric race cars to the streets of Northeast False Creek. This is Formula E, like the Formula One Grand Prix, with electricity instead of gas. Council voted last night to bring a race here at no cost to the city, all expenses covered by the Montreal-based organizer.
In terms of the general public, an outpouring of support, really enthusiastic fans here. People already saying, I've marked the month next summer, and when can I buy tickets? So we've seen nothing but enthusiasm here.
The zero emissions race would also serve as a centerpiece of a 3-day event that includes concerts, a conference on pushing forward electric transportation, and sustainability. If approved by Formula E's governing body, the event would get into gear next year. You get that? Get into gear next year?
I didn't get it, actually.
Well, you know, no pollution or limited pollution, less noise. A lot of people would like that.
Yeah, when she said enthused fans, I was like, I think I'm one of them. I think I'm an enthused fan. Yeah, so
quiet.
Yeah, exactly. You might want to wear the headphones just to get in the old Montreal spirit. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We've got sort of a nice quiet evening. Speaking of no noise, almost a still before the rain out here right now. You can feel it though. It's coming, the cold front. But before that, generally a lovely Thursday across Metro Vancouver. Let me show you the temperatures out there right now. We were in the warm pocket today, behind the warm front, but not yet into the cold front. 16 right now at YVR, 18 south of the border. Touch cooler than I was thinking we could hit today, and that's because we did see a few more high clouds than anticipated, although those high altitude ice crystals led to some nice halos around the sun, if anybody caught those rainbow rings around the sun earlier today. Here's a look at the current radar, and look what's just sneaking down the Sunshine Coast and the island. That is the cold front. Moving in overnight tonight, though. It's an overnight and Friday morning story, like it when the rain times out that way. We need it, but it happens overnight. Meanwhile, the warm front of the same system pushing through the central interior. So I'm thinking, Mike, start time sort of around 11 p.m. tonight. I'll take you through how much rain, and when we get back to the stillness of the warm pocket coming up.
Love the warm pocket, the stillness. I'll keep my eye on the clock at 11 o'clock, you say.
No pressure.
Tonight. All right, Joe, thanks very much. Well, tributes tonight for former BC Supreme Court Justice and politician Tom Berger. The former NDP leader was perhaps best known for his work on Indigenous land claims. Kate Kyle reports.
Thomas Berger spent a lifetime championing Indigenous people and rights, best known for leading a landmark court case in the 1970s, acting for the Niska Nation that established Indigenous land rights for the very first time.
Well, it went all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada, and it proved that that our people have Aboriginal rights, and that it also meant that Canada had to protect those rights.
Then later, Berger led an inquiry into a controversial pipeline in the Mackenzie River Valley.
It was a moment of empowerment.
Stephen Kakfwi is a former premier of the Northwest Territories. He says Berger's inquiry gave Indigenous people in the North a say in what was happening around them, including himself.
We have a plan. We want to take control of our life. We want to take it back from the churches, from the government. And so what Berger did was he gave us that stage.
Berger and his inquiry traveled to every small community along the Mackenzie River Valley in the Northwest Territories and several in Yukon, hearing hours of testimony. In the end, Berger called for a 10-year halt for the project.
You know, I think if my inquiry did anything 30 years ago, was to give Aboriginal people an opportunity to find their voice, to say to Canada, this is who we are, this is where we live.
Tributes to Berger have flooded in, from the Prime Minister to Indigenous leaders. Assembly of First Nations National Chief Perry Bellegarde said, he showed us why reconciliation would benefit Canada.
Without Mr. Berger's work, we're not there. We don't have a territory called Nunavut. We're just a group that's trying to get the attention of the federal government.
Berger was still working into his 80s, making sure younger generations knew the importance of having their voices heard. He died after a battle with cancer. Thomas Berger was 88 years old. Kate Kyle, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Quite a legal giant, for sure. All right, a quick reminder, if you haven't tried it already, you can also watch this newscast live on the free CBC Gem app, CBC Vancouver, also on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Well, as more and more Canadians get vaccinated, when can we expect to reach the baseline for herd immunity? And are we already starting to see a vaccine impact? That's coming up. (6:19) Thursday night. Thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. Okay, a few months ago, CBC PEI profiled Ritz the dog. Excuse me. He's a German Shepherd mix who was shot and left for dead in Texas. But he found a new home in Canada and is living the good life. Have a look.
I was actually scrolling through Facebook and I had seen a post that was shared from the Save a Life Canada Rescue group that had Ritz on it. There's a few pictures of him and it just explained his story about how he came here from Texas and he had been shot in the back and was left for dead basically and was paralyzed. And there's some pictures of him in his wheelchair and he was just so adorable. Whenever I seen him, I showed him to Jacob, my boyfriend, and he was like, oh my goodness, we have to get him. And I was like, I know, we should totally get him. So that night we applied to adopt him.
Well, as soon as I seen him, didn't really matter to me. I was like, I'm up for the challenge anyways. I said, I'm all on board.
Well, Ritz gained a lot of popularity on PEI, and then when he came up for adoption, he had a number of applications actually, and Megan and her family seemed to be the right fit, so we did an intake with them, and she came up and met him, and I believe fell in love with him from all that I can tell.
As soon as I walked in the door, he was just trying to spin right around and get over to meet me. And he just wanted a bunch of cuddles. He was just so adorable. I don't know if it was his eyes or what, but you could just tell he was just a giant baby. And he is. He's just a huge baby.
He kind of settled in pretty quick for everything he's been through. I figured he'd be timid and all that, but not one bit of timid in him. Kids absolutely love him. Fits in perfect. Just seems like this is what the family needed.
He's the newest member. Oh, yeah. We feed him. We play with him. We pet him.
So obviously he does have his wheelchair to be able to get around. He also is unable to use the washroom outside because he's incontinent, so he does have to wear diapers. He also has to be bathed quite frequently, like a full bath at least every week to 2, and we do give him like a half bath just from like the waist down every 2-3 days just to kind of keep everything clean. So there is a little bit of extra work with that, trying to get him into the tub. Or up and down stairs or from one room to the next because he can't walk.
Oh yeah, he's not going anywhere. He's staying with us.
Nice looking dog for sure. Okay, back with more news in just a sec. COVID-19 news across the country. Stay with us. While pop-up clinics aren't just leading to frustration here, Ontario is dealing with a similar situation. Hotspot areas there are being targeted for immunization. As Lorenda Redekop tells us, starting next week, the province can expect an increased vaccine supply.
This is exciting news.
A positive tone at today's vaccine briefing. It's due to a big increase in vaccines coming into the province, mainly Pfizer. Almost 800,000 doses a week through May, then close to 1 million a week in June.
The light at the end of the tunnel grows brighter every day.
Starting tomorrow, everyone 55 plus is eligible to book a vaccine through the province's website. It goes down to 50 and up next week, or in hotspots open for anyone 18 and up. Then the following week, everyone 40 plus is eligible. May 17th, 30 plus, and finally, everyone 18 and up on May 24th. The province is upping the supply sent to hotspot neighborhoods to 50% next week, but only for 2 weeks. The Science Advisory Table recommended that amount to the hardest hit hotspots over almost 4 weeks. The government defended its plan.
The belief is that by doing it for 2 weeks very aggressively, not taking any vaccines away from the existing other public health units, we can actually really beat down the positivity rates within those communities.
This morning, outside a pop-up clinic in one hotspot neighborhood, people waited for hours. They got a ticket to return for their appointment.
We just got an appointment for 6:45 this evening, actually. So we're really lucky we managed to get an appointment today.
So happy. We're so relieved. I'm a little bit teary.
This man waited an hour and a half, but the tickets had run out.
I'm privileged because, there are countries where they're really, really struggling, and at some point I will get the vaccine.
It's not fair. You have a limited amount of vaccines and, people are struggling in this community.
But the clinic continues tomorrow.
I'm going to be one of those people at 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe bring a sleeping bag.
The opposition called on the government to boost the vaccines going to these hotspots.
In communities like Brampton and others across the province, we need way more so that communities can have a fighting chance.
Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Vaccinations will, of course, help our country on the path to herd immunity. Canada expects to meet that goal by midsummer. But it'll take more than shots to get there. Here's Vicadopia.
Hi, Lisa, how are you doing? More and more Canadians are finally getting their turn at the shot, and millions more doses are coming. In fact, when it comes to the share of the population with at least one shot, Canada has now surpassed many large countries in Western Europe. But how will we know when we've done enough? Experts say restrictions can loosen when that number gets to around 75%.
It could be anywhere from mid-July to August kind of time frame.
75% may give us some freedom, but not necessarily herd immunity.
We're sort of basing herd immunity on percent vaccination, but not all vaccinations are equal. We can't be sure that because we have 75% of a population vaccinated, that we have 75% of the population protected.
A lot of the uncertainty is because for COVID-19, scientists still don't know how much antibody response is enough to continue to protect us long term, especially when new variants emerge.
You know that as long as your antibody level is above X, that you're going to be protected. And if a new variant comes, then you can remeasure the X and change it to adapt. And we of course don't know that for COVID yet because we're not that far into it.
Scientists say if we want to get to something that resembles herd immunity sooner, it won't come from vaccines alone. It'll still depend on minimizing risks to prevent the virus from circulating in communities.
So if you have, for example, a population with very, very little transmission, such as we see in Australia and New Zealand, where outbreaks can be detected rapidly, they're nowhere near herd immunity, and yet they can still relax these restrictions because they're able to control outbreaks.
Just when we'll achieve herd immunity is like so much in this pandemic. We'll know when we get there. Vicadopia, CBC News, Toronto.
The Canadian military is making another effort to eliminate sexual misconduct in the ranks, the second push in 6 years. Here's Ashley Berg.
Today is an important step towards change.
The military's leadership has changed, but the cultural problems remain.
To every member in the Canadian Armed Forces, to every person in the Department of National Defense who has been affected by sexual harassment and violence and felt that we were not there to support you, I'm truly sorry.
And the latest solution is nearly half a decade old.
We need to put in place an external reporting system outside of the chain of command to begin rebuilding confidence.
Former Supreme Court Justice Marie Deschamps recommended that 6 years ago. Her groundbreaking report found sexual assault, harassment, and bullying were endemic in the military. Now the government's launching another review, this time by former Supreme Court Justice Louise Arbour.
Deschamps told us what the problem was. What we are hoping that we can work with Madame Arbour to develop is an understanding of why that culture persists, how it is allowed to persist.
And it's starting to look like these kind of reviews or calls for reviews that take 12 to 15 months are a distraction and a delay from implementing the real change that victims and advocates have been asking for decades.
I'm furious, I'm angry, I am praying for change. I'm tired of waiting.
Retired military technician Sherry Bordage took part in the Deschamps report and says she shared she faced retribution and reprisal for reporting a groping incident by her platoon commander in 2010.
What do they want to study more? And how many more people are going to suffer in the interim while they continue to delay taking any real action on the problem that they are already aware of?
The government also announced a new in-house position, filled by Lieutenant General Jenny Carillon. Her job to help change the military's culture once and for all. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
The staggering daily case numbers show no sign of letting up in India. We're going to speak to a New Delhi area doctor who's on the front lines there next.
Well, there's been talk of secession lately in a most unlikely corner of the country. A tiny region of southeastern British Columbia wants to become part of Alberta. The idea was cooked up by 3 communities in a region called the Elk Valley, right near the Alberta border. People there say BC has ignored them. Kevin Newman explains why they think they could do better by switching their allegiance next door.
A century ago, they built a railroad to keep this region from slipping into the hands of Americans. Now the same region is once again talking about redrawing boundaries, this time between 2 provinces. The reason now is the same as the reason then, to protect the value of the coal buried in the valley's mountains. British Columbia is promoting the development of less environmentally harmful forms of energy. That's costing people here their jobs. However, Alberta, about 20 kilometers away, still burns a lot of coal.
We get Vancouver, Los Angeles, eh?
So one of the town's mayors, Toto Miller, says it's time to call a referendum in the valley to see if the people want to join a province where they're needed, Alberta.
We've pleaded with the government of British Columbia to take a look at the economic situation of this area. And you know, it's the old story. If you're the ignored child in a province or in a home, you'd want to run away too.
The idea started as a joke, but seems to have tapped a lot of resentment.
Just left out of everything. They figure everything should go to Vancouver, to Victoria, and in the interior, and we don't have anything here.
The Elk Valley has always felt closer to Calgary than Vancouver. The newspapers people read, for example. And joining Alberta may be possible in theory, under a new law allowing referendums in BC. The law hasn't been tested yet, but Miller has asked his council to be the first to try with a vote on secession.
Maybe it's time that we do have to ask the question to the people.
Already, an opposition member of Alberta's legislature has led a House debate on accepting an application from Elk Valley.
And in this time when we're adjusting Canada's borders, let's adjust some of these provincial borders.
So Toto Miller's moment of whimsy is all of a sudden being taken pretty seriously.
Hey, Doug, you want to join Alberta or stay in BC?
Even if a referendum is never held, the threat of one may be enough. For the first time in a long time, the legislatures of 2 provinces have had to focus on the problems of this region. The voice of the people here is already being heard. Kevin Newman, CBC News, in the Elk Valley of British Columbia.
And that's the National this Wednesday night. Thanks for watching.
Well, another new record for daily COVID-19 cases in India. Nearly 380,000 reported today. Excuse me, Salima Shivji has the latest from India.
The wait is excruciating. Hours on end for precious oxygen to save loved ones struggling to breathe at home. There's none anywhere in Delhi, she says. And then she finds out her wait is over. Her mother has died. The struggle for basic medical supplies is widespread across India and frantic. Volunteers have banded together, a makeshift oxygen army that does the best it can to provide some relief. But a black market has also cropped up, cylinders going for more than 10 times the usual price.
We must have made 1,000 phone calls per hour.
Ruhi Baweja's family struggled to find a hospital bed for her mother. Somehow they did, but
all I could hear was people around her just wailing in pain. They couldn't breathe.
Her mother didn't make it.
There's so much devastation everywhere. It is so scary.
Scary, too, for the doctors trying to save patients.
You feel very, very dejected at times when you see a patient, you want to give the best.
But the lack of supplies makes that task so difficult. And so despair mixes with anger that this could have been avoided. India's perfect storm that led to this brutal second wave with more contagious variants was propelled by scenes like these.
Aapka ek vote.
State election rallies with large crowds well into mid-April and a slow vaccine rollout.
It was undeniable that India was on the verge of a catastrophic wave of this infection, and yet we really didn't see much policy action.
He warns the official death count is vastly underestimated, and even as supplies are urgently shipped in from allies, relief is far off for India, heaving under the pressure of a virus that won't let it go. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Ottawa.
As we've seen, the situation in India is dire, to say the least, with more than 200,000 deaths and daily COVID cases on the rise. We are joined now by Dr. Himanshu Arora, a neurosurgeon at Fortis Hospital near New Delhi. Dr. Arora, we appreciate you joining us tonight. We see the horrible images out of India on a nightly basis. You're on the front lines there trying to deal with this. Tell us what you think, what your take on the current situation is in India.
Mike, the situation as on the COVID scenario is concerned, it's at present pretty chaotic. But then I always say that's how India is. But we are trying to get it under our control. There are several reasons behind that chaos. There's some lack of infrastructure. We have poor number of beds, less number of medicines, and of course, there is a deficiency of oxygen.
I know it's morning there. I imagine you're probably just getting ready to start your day. What do you expect to see? Give us some examples of what you already have seen on the front lines.
Our own healthcare workers are falling like nine pins because more and more of them are directly in the line of fire. Advertently or inadvertently, we all are getting sick. And there is severe shortage of ICU beds. That's what is striking. The other day, a doctor friend of mine wanted a bed for his daughter who was COVID-stricken. We arranged a bed, but when she came, she was severely hypoxic. I mean, she couldn't breathe well, and we saw that she was in need of a ventilator, and we did not have a ventilator bed, which was empty. Believe me, Mike, we had to turn her back, a doctor friend's daughter. And later on, as misfortunate as it could be, we came to know that she died because she could not get an oxygen bed somewhere else.
All right. Well, it's very troubling to hear that, but it's what you're dealing with, what your country's dealing with on a daily basis. Look, we appreciate you joining us. Best of luck to you. And again, we appreciate your time. Thank you. Well, the pandemic pulled the plug on their music gigs. How the DJs of Vancouver are trying to survive. That's next. At 6:39, a live look at Georgia Strait from the Parksville side tonight. Kind of a mixed bag ahead. But Joe says there's sun in store for the weekend. Our forecast. He's coming next.
My goal in life, since I started learning how to program, was I want to make games all day long. That's it. That's the goal. I have no other goals. If I can make games all day long, I win.
We kind of really half truly believed it, that it was going to be a form of literature that would go on and on.
Everything was new, and it was almost impossible to do a game without inventing something completely new.
We had just sort of come off the Summer of Love, Haight-Ashbury. There was sort of a hippie movement in which don't trust anyone over 30, smash the state, a little anarchy. Creativity has its roots in anarchy because you're breaking rules. Anytime you create something truly revolutionary, it's revolutionary.
When I finally got the ball to bounce around on the screen, I turned off the lights in my apartment and watched the ghosting on the monitor, and just really was transfixed.
So we're sitting there at lunch saying, the four of us generated $60 million of revenues for Atari. And we're getting paid, what, $20,000 a year?
Why shouldn't you get credit if you design the game?
Well, because it is a corporate product.
We own what we create, but we have to fight for it constantly.
I wanted there to be a big idea, was the recognition that software could be treated as an art form.
Everyone in the games industry was thinking small.
I regretted that I never get to tell him what a neat thing that he did.
They had the power to keep my name off the box, but I had the power to put my name on the screen.
When your backyard is burning, is anywhere safe? I'm Adrienne Lamb, the host of a new podcast, World on Fire. Join us on the front lines of wildfires burning around the world. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
Johanna Wagstaffe here now with the forecast. I made a egregious wardrobe decision this morning, a puffy coat before the walk, sweaty heap at the end of it.
Yes, I think that was hopefully the worst decision of your Thursday.
Yes.
It was a bit muggy out there as well. The puffer was no match for a bit of humidity. That was the southwesterly flow ahead of the cold front. So while we didn't get up to, the low 20s, we were above seasonal by a couple of degrees, and that humidity definitely making it feel more spring-like. I want to take you through the rainfall that is coming around the midnight hours when we'll see that rain sweep across Metro Vancouver thanks to the cold front. It is a fast-moving system, but overnight and through Friday morning, we should see a good 10 to 20 millimeters for most of Metro Vancouver. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a fast-moving front. Watch as I take you through the big picture. That front rolling through Vancouver Friday morning. We may see some gusty winds, and winds will be shifting from the southwest, and then they'll move to a more west-northwesterly direction by Friday afternoon. Some lingering cumulus clouds tomorrow afternoon, and this will be bringing showers across the interior as well. But generally, clearing skies behind that front. And it's not an Arctic front or anything, just dropping temperatures a couple of degrees, and high pressure building in behind it. That's what should bring us the sun for Friday afternoon, and looking good for sun this weekend. 21 tomorrow in through Kelowna, 19 out towards Cranbrook. Those showers headed your way overnight tonight and lingering through tomorrow morning, but clearing in the afternoon. Even Victoria should be clearing out towards your afternoon hours. Kamloops at 22 and 16 up towards Williams Lake. Prince George actually looking at a chance of a thunderstorm tomorrow afternoon. That warm front pushing through your way, bringing some unsettled weather, and it's another 15 millimeters for Prince Rupert. Here's a look at those temperatures in the interior. 25 for tomorrow. So pretty warm again in that warm pocket. Through to Saturday, we'll drop a little bit. So that's the cold front dropping temperatures as it moves eastward. We've got a 17 in through Cranbrook and a 20 in through Osoyoos, and mid-teens up towards the central part of the province. 17 tomorrow in through Vancouver, 15 as we head into Saturday and Sunday. Pretty seasonal stuff. We do have a mix of sun and cloud for Saturday, and then back to all sunshine for Sunday. It looks like we've got the rain moving in on Monday, and that will at this point look like a one-day wonder before we get back to the sunshine. So all in all, not a bad weekend. Love it when the rain moves in over the night and the sunshine sticks to the weekend. So I'll keep you posted on that. But meanwhile, Mike, interesting story. The Granville Strip has been looking emptier and quieter lately, of course, with COVID-19 forcing the shutdown of clubs and venues. DJs have had to change their tune, so to speak, to make a living.
Yes, they have. Tonight, the Creator Network looks at how DJs have remixed their careers.
Yeah, so I'm a DJ, right? My whole job, my whole career is based off mass amount of people partying in an enclosed space. And when the pandemic hit, that completely changed. Completely changed. So when they said, everyone has to wear masks, social distancing, 2 meters away.
Big virus is considered a pandemic, and then they told us, we have to stay inside for like a week or 2 weeks.
But wasn't really imagining that, what it would become with the lockdowns and everything.
As DJs, none of us were ready for this.
I know New York and Toronto, they're all known for their strips, like their nightlife streets. But Granville Street at night, if you see all the lights, you see all the venues lit up, it was just so vibrant at its peak. Contrast that to now, it's a ghost town.
I was DJing like 4 nights a week. It was a lot of time because I needed to make a living, I needed to make money, and that's how I make money.
When it happened, we were stepping into, the wedding season where really the money-making thing when it comes to being a DJ comes in. And, after everything shut down, I was clueless. I did not know what I was going to do.
I know a lot of DJs that are really going through it right now mentally. If you go from being out 4 to 5 days a week, when you're off, a lot of DJs, including myself, you still want to go out and see your friends. Because if you're working in the industry, your friends are all working the same time and you don't really get to hang out. If you're off, you go check your friends that are either DJing or just want to grab a drink and catch up. So if you put that together, you can't see your friends, you're not making money. Entertainers, DJs, venues are just really getting hit financially, and it's going to lead, and it has led to some other issues like with mental health.
throughout those weeks, throughout those days, and that everything becomes heavier and heavier because you have no idea. We had no answers. So my feeling personally, I went down the rabbit hole.
Like I said, I don't know how it would be, man. Like I know some people that are like by themselves, and you could tell that, you know, they need that type of support. They need that type of companionship.
Okay, how am I going to support myself during this time? What could I do? I didn't know about like online streaming, for example.
I started doing like some mixtapes, just, you know, just to kind of stay relevant and kind of keep my juices flowing. A lot of my homies did Twitch.
I created some music production classes on Twitch that I was doing, and
Twitch was the route to go, and it really helped a lot of people kind of grow their network. Like I've had to transition myself, and I'm on Twitch, I'm meeting new people, making new friends.
You know, the streaming world was open to us for DJs. There's so much things that you can build around streaming that could generate different incomes. It's just a matter of how much work you want to put into.
I'm hosting, I'm being a personality, I'm being a communicator, I'm DJing, I'm sharing music, I'm sharing my knowledge, facilitating positive energy, which also is something I've had to learn, like just like smile more on camera, literally say, are you having a good time?
I did not know I could elevate what I do because of this lockdown.
Met people from Brazil, you know, even California, New York, and I've connected with them and really connected with them where now we're doing gigs together online. And when everything opens up, those are new real person connections.
Like, and I still look forward to that day where it's like, okay, cool, we're good. The green light's on. You guys can come out.
I get out of my stream. It's like, yo, when are we gonna see you live again? Like in real life.
Music, for one, and the love of music, it's connecting people from around the world, even more now. Because it's so easy just to pick up your phone and see who's DJing, right? So it's inspiring to me as an artist, as a performer, as a DJ to see that, okay, although our industry is shut down physically, we're still finding ways to be innovative and you know, working our way through this together as a community.
Well, from DJs to dance, Canadian dancers, including one from Vancouver, celebrating International Dance Day. Stay with us.
This is where they broke the door in.
Jillian McGill was asleep with her 6-year-old granddaughter in the early hours of a Friday morning. She was suddenly woken up by a loud crack downstairs and heavy footsteps. The next thing she knew, their room was filled with Ottawa police officers in full tactical gear, yelling and pointing rifles. Her granddaughter woke up screaming.
You're just incapacitated, really, to think, to answer to anything. You're just totally numb.
McGill, her daughter and granddaughter were told to leave as police searched the house. They would later find out that OPS were conducting a dynamic raid, also known as a no-knock entry, searching for guns and drugs as part of a series of citywide raids called Project Avalanche. Police arrested and charged a friend staying with the family at the time, but McGill says nothing was ever found in their home. And ever since, she's lived with trauma, fear, and questions about why her family was involved in the first place.
Well, we're broken, we're betrayed, we're afraid to have the police department be the ones who do that to you. You can't process it. Like, these are people who take an oath to serve and protect, not break down your door and hold a gun at your head because they want somebody who's in your house.
Ottawa Police Services declined to comment on this story, but after McGill's house was searched back in February, the agency temporarily suspended the use of dynamic entries just a few weeks later after an Ontario Superior Court judge ruled that the tactic was being used too frequently. Now, Ottawa police can still conduct no-knock raids, but with the approval of the police chief and only in emergency situations or when they're trying to preserve evidence. McGill is happy the tactic is under review, but she says the damage to her family has already been done. Months later, she still has no answers, and she's still scared for her life.
Still am. Every day. Every day I tiptoe around my house. I hide my car in the garage. I peek out cracks in the window to see if anybody's watching, because they were apparently watching us and following us for 2.5 months. Why did they think we were so worthless?
McGill says her next step is to move out of the city because she no longer feels safe. She also hopes to give a victim impact statement to the police board so officers stop using the tactic for good. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Ottawa.
Hi, I'm Amy Bao, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
CBC Vancouver is a proud returning sponsor of the 20th annual Doxa Documentary Film Festival. Get your tickets and watch amazing films from the comfort of your own home, May 6th to 16th. Learn more at doxafestival.ca. And the CBC News Vancouver team wants to see your beautiful photos of beautiful British Columbia. Email your photos to bcphotos@cbc.ca for your chance to be featured.
Well, today is a good day to put on your dancing shoes as the world celebrates International Dance Day.
Is that all you got? That's it?
That's all I got.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I've been practicing it all commercial break, so.
Oh, of course you have, yes. This is because it is International Dance Day. And tonight, CBC Arts features 8 dancers bringing good vibes through the pandemic.
Sending out to the whole wide world. Now put your hands up in the sky. Now we don't worry about tomorrow. We just accept what the day brings. Yeah, we just live in the moment. See how we're singing and praising these good vibes, yeah. Gotta keep spreading that love and good vibes, yeah. Grateful for the life we live. Said there's too much darkness, said we need light in this life. I need good energy and vibes. That's why I wanna my G stay nice. Cause we just wanna have a good time. Yeah, you know on the beach with the music pumping, sun-kissed skin. You know the thing, can't compare the feeling to nothing. Shout out everyone on the east side, all the way to the west side, and the Caribbean islands. We need less jealousy and envy. That's how we make our future brighter. I just wanna thank the creator for more life, for more paper. I can never ask for no greater. Yeah. Good vibes. We're sending out to the whole wide world. Now put your hands up in the sky. Good vibes. Yeah. We're sending out to the whole wide world. Now put your hands up in the sky. Now we don't worry about tomorrow. We just accept what the day brings. Yeah, we just live in the moment. See how we're singing and praising these good vibes, yeah. Gotta keep spreading that love and good vibes, yeah. Grateful for the life we live. We need to spread good vibes, you know. I need to live my life, you know. Yeah, we need it right now. Need to spread it around. Good vibes.
Pretty impressive. Yeah, that's Ralph Escamillan, the Vancouver dancer that we saw there. Fantastic.
That was awesome. Yeah, if that doesn't get you wanting to move at the end of a Thursday, I don't know what will. They were awesome.
Control room suggests maybe you could do a forest dance or something tonight in behind you.
I'm not going to rule that out. I'm not going to rule that. It's the perfect evening for that.
Take a camera with you, please, because this must be documented.
Yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Let's see what tomorrow brings.
All right, Joe, thank you very much, and thank you for watching. Dan is here at 11 o'clock right after the National. Have a great night.
Good night.